Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Got a little bit something different for you today, and we're going to be talking why I think maybe the Ctan Shard of the Deceiver could be a hidden gem in the current chapter approved Warzone Nephilim. So before getting into the video, let's talk about our sponsor today. Sponsoring the video is the Magnet Baron, and the product that I wanted to show you today is the posable magnet flight stands for your Locust destroyers. Now for $17.99 in US dollars, you're going to be getting 3 posable magnet flight stands. You're also going to be getting the acrylic rods that are already pre-drilled. You're going to be getting 6 disc magnets, the countersunk ring magnets, 3 ball bearings, the 3 rock anchors, as you can see displayed in the photo there, and then of course the flight stand guide as well. Now there is also a guide on the website, so the link will be in the description. These guys do ship worldwide, and there'll be free shipping in the USA if you spend over $20. So $17.99 for 3 posable magnet flight stands with the rock anchor to hide the actual magnet itself. That's the Magnet Baron. Check them out, link in the description. Okay, so let's get back onto the video talking about the Ctan Shard of the Deceiver and why I think it's a hidden gem in the current chapter approved. So as you guys know, I like to kind of go against the grain with my videos. I don't go for the typical obvious tactics and synergies. I try my best to find something a little bit more unique that isn't always necessarily that obvious to spot. So in the elite section of our codex, we've got 4 Ctan Shards. 3 of them are named Ctan Shards and one of them is the Transcendent Ctan Shards. Now all 3 of them at present are probably more selected over the Deceiver. The Nightbringer in particular gets a lot of play, and the Void Dragon too I guess, but since the chapter approved book, the Transcendent Ctan Shard is getting a lot of play because of the fact that he's only 230 points. Now the Deceiver is 300 points, so he has had a reduction of course since that balanced status slate, but all 4 of them are very usable in the current game. So first of all, let's talk about some of the reasons why I think this Ctan Shard is a little bit of a hidden gem. Now the first point I wanted to specifically talk about his unique Ctan power, which is the Cosmic Insanity. So with this power you select one enemy unit within 12 inches and visible, you roll a d6 and add the Ctan Shard's leadership characteristic to the result. So that would be leadership 10 of course, we are playing Necrons after all. Your opponent then rolls 1d6 and adds their leadership characteristics to their result. Then the enemy unit will suffer 1 mortal wound for each point by which your total exceeds your opponent's. So instantly we already have an advantage when using this Ctan power because we're leadership 10 and a lot of other factions, well, they pretty much aren't leadership 10, are they? So I just wanted to give you a rough idea of average leadership values in other factions. Now, of course, there are going to be some units that aren't going to kind of fit into this average leadership value. As mentioned, it's just an average really. So Tyranids are mainly leadership 5s, some of them leadership 8 and 9. Majority are leadership 5, Orcs between 6 and 7, Chaos Demons around 7, Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines around 7 and 8, same as Sisters of Battle, Drukhari and Genestein Occults. Death Guard are slightly better with leadership value of 8 or 9, although the Poxwalkers are only leadership 4. Now those Poxwalkers do automatically pass morale, but this isn't a morale check, we're just checking the leadership and adding it to our dice. Eldari between 7 and 9, Tau between 6 and 9, both versions of the Knights, leadership 9, and the Custodies, most of them are actually leadership 11. So I wanted to kind of use an example here, and I'm going to pick out the Space Marines because they're kind of a common faction, and they're kind of easy to understand, especially if you're a new player. So Space Marines, an average leadership value of a 7 or an 8. The 8 mainly because of a sergeant in the unit will have an 8 as opposed to a 7, and likely will still be alive. So I wanted to first mention the worst case scenario when using it against a Space Marine unit with a leadership value of an 8. So of course you get your Ctan leadership and that will be 10 and you're going to roll a dice. Now worst case scenario you roll a 1. We've all been there, we do that in every game. Those ones seem to just happen when you're using Ctan powers. So that's going to of course make a total of 11. Now in order for that Space Marine unit to take no mortal wounds whatsoever, they're going to need to roll at least a 3. Because that of course will match the 11 that we've rolled and yeah, no damage taken. So even when we roll our worst with a 1, we've still got a fair shot at throwing out a little bit of mortal wound damage. Now the average case scenario is we roll a 3 or a 4, so we're going to be getting a 13 or a 14. So now all of a sudden that Space Marine unit is going to require a 5 or a 6 just to not take any damage at all. If they roll say a 2, that's instantly going to be 3 to 4 mortal wounds right there, taking away say 2 intercessors, whatever the unit is. Now in terms of the best case scenario and we roll a 6, we're going to have a total of 16. Let's just say for this best case scenario they do roll a 1. So we have 16 and they only managed to get a 9 in total. That's going to be 7 mortal wounds to a Space Marine unit. So that's literally killing 3 of them and leaving 1 on 1 wound. Now it could be a unit with 3 wounds per model, then that would remove 2 models, but what I'm trying to say is even against the elite factions, this Ctan power is quite usable. Now let's take it to the other end of the spectrum and we're going up against the Tyranids and going up against a Termagant Horde. Even if you do roll a 1 on your Ctan power, making a total of 11, they're going to need a 6 just to not take any mortal wounds whatsoever. So the likelihood is, yeah, they're going to be taking mortal wounds. You roll, say, the average 3 or 4, they're going to be taking a buttload of mortal wounds in that given phase, and that's just coming from one single Ctan power. Now you can actually further boost this with 2 units within our Necron Codex. One of them is more of a usable unit and one of them kind of isn't, but I've got to mention it. The first one being the Flayed Ones with their Terrifying Foes aura. So while enemy unit is within 3 inches of this unit, you subtract 2 from the leadership characteristics of the models in that unit. So again, if we were going to use those Space Marines as an example, and they had a leadership value of an 8, all of a sudden, that's going to be a leadership value of a 6. That's going to be removing a lot of those Space Marine models. Now very similarly, if you're taking a Psychomancer, he can be using his Nightmare Shroud aura, which has a slightly longer range of 6 inches, but it will subtract 1 from the enemy leaderships. It will also affect the combat attrition test as well, but again, this is a Ctan power, it's not talking about combat attrition tests within the power itself. So yeah, there's a few little bits of synergy when you're taking the Ctan Shard of the Deceiver, especially with Flayed Ones, and the fact that they can all deep strike as well, which we'll kind of get onto later in this video. So as already mentioned, that's only going to be one single Ctan power, and the Deceiver is going to be knowing another power from the list, and can actually be using 2 Ctan powers, so it's going to be a lot of mortal wounds, whether it's the Antimatter Meteor, Sky of Falling Stars, whatever power you want to be using, yeah, it's going to be doing quite a lot of damage. Now you can further boost the Deceiver's damage output in this movement phase with the Dimensional Destabilization stratagem, and it will only cost you 1 command point. You can effectively do another power, it will be at random however, but yeah, you get to do another power. It could be Antimatter Meteor again. Even if it's been used that turn already, you can use it a second time. So we briefly touched upon those Ctan powers, what the mortal wound outlay is going to be like. Now I wanted to talk about the datasheet and comparing it with other Ctan shards in the elite section of the codex. So a lot of feedback that I seem to get is Ctan Shard of the Deceiver has limited stats when compared to the other Ctan shards. Now I kind of wanted to show that it actually isn't that bad. So starting off with the strength, that's the first difference between the other Ctans. Strength 6. Now the only Ctan shard here that has better than Strength 6 is the Nightbringer. All the others do have Strength 6, although admittedly the Void Dragon's weapon in melee is a +3, so it is effectively Strength 9, isn't it? But the Transcendent Ctan Shard has the exact same as the Deceiver, so is it that big of a deal? As for the attacks, again it's only the Nightbringer that has the better amount of attacks with 6. The other 3 Ctan Shards all have 5, so it's on par with them again. Then the other difference between the 4 Ctan Shards is the armor save. 3 out of 4 of them have got a 4+ armor save, and the Void Dragon is the only one with a 3+ armor save. So he is kind of on par in terms of the stats, it's just that he doesn't get the added strength with his melee weapon. But to compensate for that, he does have 3 unique abilities, which we're going to talk about now, and they can be a massive effect, especially with this new Nephilim book. So the first one is the Dimensional Translocation ability. Pretty much Deep Strike is the only Ctan Shard that does have the Deep Strike ability, so he can be coming in with, say, the Flayed Ones to help lower enemy units' leadership values. But also it's going to help him survive a little bit more. When you've got, say, a Nightbringer or a Void Dragon or even the Transcendent Ctan Shard, those things are going to run up the board, moving at only 8 inches. Or you have to pay command points just to get them in strategic reserves. But if they are running up the board, you're not using the terrain effectively enough, then yeah, they're going to be getting shot off the table before they actually get to reach a specific target. You don't even miss out on the Ctan Powers because they happen at the end of the movement phase. Okay, so you will miss out in turn 1, but you're probably not in range anyway. But in turn 2, coming from Dimensional Translocation, you're likely going to be 9 inches away from an enemy model. So yeah, you can already start using the Cosmic Insanity, Ctan Power, and whatever other one you select. Now the second unique ability here is the Misdirection ability. So it's simply a -1 to hit the Deceiver. Again, it's going to help his resiliency. No other Ctan Shard has this natural option. Now the third one, which is Grand Illusion, which is probably his biggest party trick and one of the main reasons for actually taking the Ctan Shard of the Deceiver. So I'll read it out for you just in case some of you are not aware of what it actually is. At the start of the first battle round, you can select up to 3 friendly Necron units, remove these units from the battlefield, then set them up anywhere on the battlefield that is wholly within your deployment zone. Now if the mission uses strategic reserves, any of those units can be placed into strategic reserves without having to spend any additional command points, regardless of how many units are already in strategic reserves. Now why this is such a huge deal is since the chapter approved Nephilim book, our command points pre-game were literally halved. We used to start with 12 command points in our Strike Force games, we're now starting with 6. Incursion used to start with 6, now they're starting with 3. So pre-game, you're getting a lot less, and that's before you even buying the Warlord traits and relics, because in the previous book, you had 1 Warlord trait and 1 relic for free, now you're paying command points for all of them. So you could effectively start a game with no command points, especially in the smaller games. So why this relates to the Grand Illusion ability is simple. If you're going to be using strategic reserves, you're not going to be paying for it anymore. I'm going to show you an example here. A lot of people with the previous book used to like using this kind of combination. They used to like putting the Lich Guard in the Night Scythe, having Anrakir the Traveller. Everybody's giving extra attacks, extra bit of strength and whatnot. But if you wanted to put all these units into strategic reserves, the Night Scythe is 7 power rating, 10 Lich Guard models is 14 power rating, and Anrakir the Traveller is 7 power rating. That's a total of 28 power, which would normally cost you 3 command points. So now all of a sudden, those kind of synergies will work, and it doesn't have to be those units, it could be loads of Necron warriors, whatever you want to put in strategic reserves, you've got the option now. Now they don't have to actually just go into strategic reserves. You could simply redeploy your units on the battlefield within your own deployment zone. You can literally bait your opponent, maybe deploy on one side of your own deployment zone. They're going to wonder, okay, how do I actually counter that? So maybe they counter deploy you using that same side of the battlefield. You then use your redeployed ability, Grand Illusion, and completely flip the scene and completely change up your deployment. So that's going to completely mess up your opponent before the game even begins, which we all like to see. Now I need to get this in this video somewhere, so I thought I'd put this here. Can't forget that he's got the Necrodermis ability, 4+ in-run save, and he cannot lose more than 3 wounds in a given phase. Now all the Ctan shards have this, so this isn't really a hidden gem or anything, but it is worth mentioning that if you're going to be throwing up your Ctan Shard, the Deceiver, or deep striking him in, or whatever you're doing with him, going up against factions such as Tau, they're going to really struggle against your Ctan Shard because they're doing the majority of their damage in the shooting phase, so the psychic phase and the fight phase, they're not doing as much, so therefore your Ctan Shards should last a lot longer. Whereas if you're going up against, say, a Tyranid faction, it's probably their weakness because Tyranids are quite dangerous in all of the phases. So I thought I'd put that one here before we actually spoke about his melee weapon. So he comes with the Golden Fists, which are Strength User, which is of course Strength 6, -3 AP and 3 damage. Now he does have 5 attacks and he does hit on 2s. So the fact that it's 3 damage means he's going to be doing damage to, say, Terminators, Tyranid Warriors, even your Plague Marines, because they are a -1 to damage. So that damage 3 becomes damage 2, but that still removes a Plague Marine model from play if that wound goes through. It's quite an elite killer. You don't really want to be throwing him into hordes because yeah, that damage will be wasted. Now if you were going up against, say, Terminators as we just mentioned, they're going to have an invulnerable save of a 5+, maybe even a 4+ with the shields. Now what you can use is the Entropic Strike stratagem. Now it is pricey at 2 command points, but you're literally removing invulnerable saves from the opponent's unit there. So again, they're not going to have that invuln save, so there'll be a -3, so that's going to take them to a 5+ armor save. I mean, 5+ isn't too bad to be honest with you, but yeah, with 5 attacks, hitting on 2s, wounded on 3s, you should be removing some models there. So the last point in this video today, I just wanted to talk about how the Ctan Shard of the Deceiver is going to be affecting your secondary objectives. Now of course he's not there to be scoring you secondary objectives, however he will be indirectly helping you achieve victory points because he is going to be target number 1. In fact, any Ctan Shard you take will be target number 1. Your opponent needs to remove this thing because it's throwing out a lot of damage. Now meanwhile, while that's all happening, while he's getting shot from all over the place, tanking a lot of stuff, other units within your army are going to be moving forward, scoring points, whether it's primaries, whether it's doing actions such as ancient machineries, possibly raise the banners, things like that, and of course treasures of Aeons, which is quite a common choice for Necron players at the moment, kind of links with our primaries, doesn't it? But yeah, if your opponent isn't targeting your Necron warriors and your Canoptic Scarab swarms, and instead going for your Ctan Shard of the Deceiver, all that's really going to do is benefit us, because as Necrons, we all know Necrons are very good at scoring victory points. So I hope this inspires you to maybe pull the Deceiver off the shelf, dust him off, get him in the game, just try him out for this chapter approved edition and to see how he fares. And also let me know in the comments down below. And guys, also do me a huge favour. Of course you're going to subscribe to the channel, we all know that, but I just wanted to try a new thing out for this month. If you're able to share this video on any of your social media platforms, could you please possibly share the video? I just wanted to see how far we can take the video. So guys, other than that, all that's left to say is thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.